Agenda this morning. Pauline, good to see you. I want to ask you about melons, first and foremost, so we can get it out of the way. Are you offended by this whole episode, or is this just you think it's a double standard from Labor that should be pointed out?
I think it's disgusting that the Prime Minister can't even admit whether he got 2 melons, and this is the way he goes about this on air. I think it's disgusting. We know what the hell he was talking about, and he can't admit that he got the melons. He hasn't put them in his pecuniary interest. He said now we're hearing he had 4 melons, and he ate 2, and then he realised now he says he's got 4. He's always lied to the public, and this is an absolute lie. He's disgraced the Australian people by not admitting the truth, and he's just gone on and on with this lie. I think it's disgusting. His whole attitude to this, the way he's treated the Prime Minister, Tahichi, in Japan is disgusting. He needs to come out and give an open apology and explain to the Australian people why he's carried on with his lie, and I want to hear it from him today.
So he got 4 melons, ate 2. It's not on his public registry because they're below the $700 threshold, as we understand it. Sounds like a NAPLAN question, I've got to say. Maybe year 3.
Yeah. Well, it is what he did, you know, so he hasn't declared it whatsoever. Geez, everyone's jumping down my throat about declaring even a bulldozer. Have I declared the bulldozer? Yet no one goes after the Prime Minister or anyone else, but they go after Pauline Hanson. So I'm calling the Prime Minister, put it in your pecuniary of interest and let's be accountable to the public like you demand of me.
Just while I've got you, did you declare the bulldozer now? What was it worth?
Yes, I have. I don't know. I just put it down anyway. It's worth the fight later on.
OK. All right, let's talk about things that really affect people. Yesterday in Parliament, we had taxpayer-funded landlord welfare. That's the phrase. That's what the Prime Minister thinks negative gearing and CGT discounts are. What is he missing?
He is missing because a lot of the young people that are coming to me now and explaining to me said we can't get into the housing market now because of negative gearing. So a lot of these people grew up in areas, their family are living in that area, and they want to get married, have their own kids close to their family. Now he's forced them to go out and buy new housing out of the area, and I think that's wrong. You know, we should allow people to buy whatever housing they want to, allow for the negative gearing. One Nation supports 2 negatively geared houses. You find about 70 or 80% of people only own the one home anyway. Very few percentage own more than 2 houses. So I think he's made a big mistake there. It's driven down the cost of housing now in the housing market, and One Nation will reverse their capital gains tax.
The capital gains tax discount and negative gearing?
Yes, we'll put the negative gearing at 2 houses, limit of 2 houses, and then we will reverse the capital gains tax. You know, I was in business and I worked long hours to build up my business, and think that you're actually going to be paying capital gains tax. You're driving people out of the market. We need those investors who are actually going to invest in the housing market. They're leaving the whole industry.
OK, the RBA also said yesterday that Australia's economic recovery is increasingly tied to higher immigration. Do you accept that your 130,000 permanent migration cap could hurt living standards?
No, look, I don't think it will hurt living standards. I think it will improve living standards, because you ask the people out there are waiting to get in to see a doctor, want to have their operation, the schools are overflowing, infrastructure, it's at its maximum. We're overwhelmed and we need to have a breathing space. The government over the years have promised us they would only bring in this number of people. They've lied year in, year out, and they've brought in, you know, we're looking at 100,000 plus, more people in the country than what they actually told us. So they've never been upfront with the people. They brought in 1.5 million people in their term of being in government, and they intend to bring in another 1 million people over the next 4 years. We can't cope with this. The people are saying it, and that's why now I've set the agenda where both the political parties, Labor and Liberal, are pulling back their numbers because they realise that I'm right in what I'm saying.
But you'd be still bringing in 500,000 people. Wouldn't it still have the pressures that you're talking about?
No, I'm bringing in 130,000 a year net migration into the country.
But
on
over
top
4
of that,
years, that's
anyone
about
who's on
500,000, right?
Yeah, well, that's a hell of a difference to 1.5 million that the government has brought in over that period of time. You also have people that leave the country. So we do have people that are leaving. It's quite hard to determine the figures. We're actually going to look further into it, the number of people. But the foreign students we have in the country at the moment is approximately about 480,000 that have been in the country. So they're bringing in their spouses and their families, the graduates that are in the country, high numbers there of their families. We've got about 250,000 graduates. Yep. They shouldn't be allowed to stay in the country unless they've got a sponsorship. They should be made to go back to their homeland and apply for residency in Australia back from their own home once they've finished their education.
You're talking about, productive members that are contributing to the economy. Of course, this has many aspects to it. Last week when we spoke, you said you've heard the concerns of businesses and the university sector and you don't care. I know you care about small business, though. What happens to wages and inflation if businesses have fewer workers?
Laura, what we found is ensuring that the people in this country have the opportunity to go out and train and have those jobs. I want to rebuild our apprenticeship schemes that I had going for a short while under the coalition government. I want to open up TAFE colleges. I want to give people the opportunity here that they can get a skill. I don't want to keep relying on migrants coming to this country. All the people that we will bring in the country will be skilled. When the government brought in 739,000 people, only 51,605 were skilled, 1,800 in the construction industry. Yep. They have failed us. So the people we're bringing in the country will have those skills, not these people who are claiming to be carpet layers but learnt through the YouTube, and that's what's happening. They haven't got the skills that we require or to the standards of the Australian standards. Yeah,
and you might have the power to change all that and get more skilled workers into the country. But if you say you want to focus more on training people and Australians, yes, that's a great idea. But that takes time. In the meantime, what do you say to those small businesses who will see loss of productivity? They might see their profits go down. Is that all part of the plan?
No, it's not, Laura, because under the other visa holders that you can bring skilled workers into the country. So, and you will have the backpackers and you have the palm workers.
So you ensure these businesses that they will have enough skilled workers?
Yes, you have to, because they're
even if it's higher than
130,000
a year?
There's a different program. See, under the 130, if you've been in the country, you can be under a different visa program. So if you're in the country about 14 months, you're classified as a permanent resident. Anyone who stays there on a visa shorter than that is a different classification. So we can have the workers here. But the people we bring in the country, let's get smart about it. Bring in the people that are actually going to enhance our country, add to it, prosperity to our nation, not people that will end up on our welfare system, our Medicare levels. People are crying out to come to Australia. Let's get smart about who we want to bring into the country.
If I can put it to you this way, I know 130,000 is the figure you've put out there. Is that an arbitrary figure, or are you saying that's the goal, but we will not let businesses go without the skilled workers that they need? So if you need to go higher than that cap to keep these businesses humming along, you will do that?
Yes, I think it's very important to keep in touch with the working sector out there, the businesses, and I said this would be reviewed on a yearly basis to make sure that we get it right. But I know that we have to pull it back.
Even under review it more
years
than
ago,
just yearly, will you do that?
OK, I'll tell you something. Why have we now, when Howard was in under those years, we had 80 to 100,000 people coming in the country? Why now, all of a sudden, we have to blow it out to over 500,000 people coming in the country? Net migration. What has happened to our country? We survived then with it. We were growing. We had prosperity. Why now that... we've brought in so many people, we've got housing shortages, we can't get people in to have that, see the doctor and everything like that. The impact it's had on the everyday Australian, their way of life, standard of living, homelessness. So we really need to have a good look at this and call it out for what it is. Mass migration has not helped this country.
It has had some benefits to it in terms of business, but look, I absolutely accept your point. But I want to talk about AI just quickly. This is potentially the biggest productivity boost we will see in our lifetime. It will see potential job losses and radical changes. Do you want the government protecting these jobs, or do you accept that is the price of boosted productivity and living standards across the board?
AI is very important. I'd like to see these centres built in Australia, but also to protect our own data so they don't end up in China or America. It is going to create industry by all means by building these hubs. But once they're built, that's it. That's where the workforce is gone. The cost of actually running these electricity, and Bowen's come out and said they'll have to do it through renewables. What an absolute fool he is to think that you're going to run these AI centres with renewables when they, it takes so much power to run them and also water associated with it. It is very important that we do get this right. And that's why some of the ones that are being built overseas, they have their own small nuclear reactors to run it because that's how much power they need. We have to get this right from the start.
Sure.
And also we need to look at regulations so that workers are not going to lose their jobs. That's very important to the workers out there.
So you're saying you will protect those jobs. You're with the unions on this.
You have to protect those jobs. I can't control businesses out there, but the government, we can look at it, how far we go with this in protecting jobs in Australia. I think it needs to be regulated to an extent. Laura, I'm still learning about this all the time. I'm not making policy on the run, but these are things that have been pointed out to me, that the Australian people are very concerned about their futures, their jobs, and we must protect workers' jobs by all means, but we can't disregard progress and where we are going to go forward. We don't want to be held back as a nation. We need to move forward.
Just one quick last one. There's a Productivity Commission draft report that's coming out on Friday. It's going to talk about the GST distribution between the states. Now, Saul Eslake called this the worst public policy decision of the 21st century. Basically, WA is cleaning up. The government doesn't want to do anything about it, nor does the coalition, because it's all about saving or winning those seats in WA versus the rest of the country. What would you do about it?
Look, I stood up for WA years ago when they were only at about 34% of the GST. Yes, they do have the mining and they're a progressive state that they've actually done business and encouraged business there. So the GST was increased. Now, a lot of these states that can actually get their act together. What's Victoria doing? They've destroyed the whole gas industry down there, the mining sector, everything they've done. Gas, these states cannot rely on other states that prop them up. And I think that if they only got back in the GST what they produced, well, fine, that might be different. But a lot of these states, it's like in Tasmania, they cut down, shut down the timber industry and all the other industries, and yet they're getting propped up by the GST from other states. Well, I'd say to the states, get your productivity up, look at your resources, get mining going, make sure that you produce the GST and stop relying on everyone else to prop you up.
Would you pull some from WA? Is that fair?
No, I'm not pulling anything from the WA. They're on less than what the other states are doing.
Wow, they're getting
a lot of the states are... They're producing this GST. They're on about 74, 75 cents in the dollar. That's what they're getting back. A lot of the other states, if you look at South Australia or Tasmania, or even, they're on well over $4 or $5 in GST return, and the Northern Territory. So what I'm saying is that we're breaking even in Queensland, $1 for dollar. So these states need to look at it. So Victoria's gone backwards. They need to start industries and manufacturing and stop shutting it down. I knew a fellow wanted to start up a fertiliser plant in Victoria, and it would have brought in income into the state, and they shut it down. He's gone to New Zealand. So these states need to get their act together. And if New South Wales doesn't get their act together, they're going to lose the mining there and what they sell over to Vietnam and these other countries in coal.
Pauline, great to have you on the program. At this strike rate, we'll see you next week too.
Thanks, Laura.
See you soon.
Right.
Quick break on the program.
Hanson says the melon saga is really about accountability. The idea that if the top job in the country cannot be honest about fruit, what else is getting fudged? From there, she pivots straight into housing And honestly, this is where things heat up. She calls negative gearing and the capital gains tax discount, quote, taxpayer-funded landlord welfare, which is not exactly a subtle way of putting it. Her fix: cap negative gearing at 2 investment properties instead of unlimited, and wind back Labor's changes to capital gains tax. Basically, she is trying to thread a needle between keeping investors in the game and stopping young Australians getting priced out of their own postcode.
And speaking of being priced out, buckle up, because migration is next, and this is where Hanson really swings. She claims around 1.5 million people arrived during this government's term, with another million reportedly on the cards over the next 4 years. Her answer? Cap net migration at 130,000 a year, prioritise skilled migrants only, and send international graduates home to apply for residency from overseas unless they're sponsored. Whether you agree or not, it is a lot of numbers to throw at a Tuesday.
Then, just when you think the interview is winding down, she throws in artificial intelligence of all things. She wants sovereign AI infrastructure built right here, so Australia is not renting its future from the US or China. But here is the twist. AI hubs guzzle energy and water like nobody's business, so she is pushing small nuclear reactors as the power solution, alongside protections for workers who might get squeezed out by automation.
Finally, GST. Western Australia gets roughly 70 to 75 cents back for every dollar it sends to Canberra, while some other states pull in $4 or $5 for everyone they contribute. Hanson's line: do not touch WA's share. Tell the underperforming states to rebuild their own industries instead of leaning on everyone else. That is the lot. Big claims, bigger numbers, and a lot for you to chew over. Thanks so much for watching. We will catch you in the next one.